Hello and welcome again to Clean Regime Health Coaching. I'm your host, Mike Espinola. Great to see you again. Our topic today is going to be a little bit about sugar. That yummy, highly addictive, sweet substance we call sugar. Give me a little sugar, baby, right? Now I know I have a sweet tooth. I like my desserts. But unfortunately, we've learned recently, through 30 years of research, done by others of course, not myself, that sugar is a big problem and that it is the cause of most of our metabolic syndrome today, and which encompasses about 75% of our healthcare costs today. I don't think there's any real debate on healthcare being an issue, or at least, not so much worrying about people being sick, but worrying how you're going to deal with people being sick with insurance and the medical system. So obviously health is an issue, and it's a political issue, it's a civil issue, it's a societal issue, it's an economic issue. It's got many facets and ramifications. So if we could eliminate 75% of our healthcare issues, you have to believe that our problems would pretty much go away if you're cutting it down to that kind of a percentage. And then from there you could probably even do a little more. But this one simple concept of eliminating sugar from our diets, or at least most of it, because we all eat way too much, upwards of 150 pounds a year of sugar, which is like a wheelbarrow full, 2 wheelbarrows. It's a lot of sugar. When you visualize it, it's flabbergasting. But sugar, unfortunately, due to the fact that we extract it and concentrate it and don't eat it in its natural forms, is very unhealthy. And like we said, it's very addicting. And it's acidifying to the body. Sugar acidifies the body as a basic concept, and we'll tell you how it goes about doing that. So some of the problems with sugar, naturally, again, the addiction part. I mean, I'm addicted to sugar. There's no question about it. I'm not ashamed to say it. I like my sweets. Now, I have been able to limit, and use it in moderation. I have been able to abstain, but it's not easy. Now, I've discovered ways of getting around sugar cravings, which, help remedy the situation here and there when things get bad and you don't really want to eat any sugar. One way is that I eat like 85% or 80% dark chocolate. Very bitter, low on the sugar, but I think just the chocolate kind of tells yourself you're eating something good. Obviously, we can eat fruits. We can eat fruits and we can eat dry fruits. Now, the reason sugar in fruit is not dangerous is because you're eating it in a packaged, all-natural form. So it contains the fibers and the other elements that are in there that protect digestion, protect blood sugar, and make it safer to eat. Now, does that mean we want to eat wheelbarrows of fruit all day, every day? No, because I believe even with fruit, you probably could overdo it. It's just, you'd have to eat quite a bit of it. Because again, we extract, concentrate, and consume. So you could be eating in a glass of Kool-Aid, soda, or juice, 10 oranges worth of sugar. So it would take a lot of fruit to get the kind of concentrated amounts of sugar that we consume. Now, the World Health Organization recommends 9 teaspoons of sugar a day for men and 6 teaspoons a day for women. Now, that's not what we physically add to a cup of coffee, tea, cereal, what have you. Or even if you make cookies or bake something yourself, you're adding sugar to that. But it's not just what you physically add. It's whatever sugar is found in anything you consume throughout the day. Now, most of us, including myself, before I was aware of it, eat, again, way too much sugar because we don't realize how much sugar is in certain foods that we're eating. Not all of us are vegans or Vegetarians that eat a lot are just raw fruits and vegetables, but we all need to become more like them. So inevitably we're eating processed foods, we're eating foods that have sugars, modified fats, and again all the chemicals that are added to it. But even the sugar itself can be just as bad as some of the chemicals that are added to the food. Sugar is made up of fructose and glucose. Now glucose is the non-toxic form of energy that all life can use. All cells on the planet can use glucose for energy. It can be metabolized by the cell, within the cell. Fructose, unfortunately, can only be metabolized by the liver. It's not an essential nutrient. It's involved in no chemical reaction in the body. Therefore, by definition, it's a poison. So yes, I said it. Fructose is a poison. Now keep in mind, I'm not a professor. I don't do research as far as laboratory type of research. As a scientist, all I do is research the research has been done. So all this information that we're talking about today comes out of the University of Southern California. Dr. Robert Lustig and his colleagues have done this. They've got on the internet all kinds of information, just like we're giving you here today. So what we're about is spreading the word. Again, we didn't invent any of this information. We're only sharing it with you. We're learning it. We're sharing it with you because we find that this information is helping us improve our health. And that's what we're about here at Clean Regime, is helping you improve your health. So sugar can only be metabolized by the liver. Now glucose, we said, can be used by all the cells in the body. So when you eat food that has carbohydrates in it, you've got the fructose, but you've also got the glucose. Now the glucose, you can actually burn the glucose off before it even can become fat, which is, what exercise is all about. Now again, I don't recommend everyone go out and try to be some kind of crazy triathlon athlete. I do recommend that if you can, you get in at least a brisk walk every day. We're not meant to sit down. You don't have to be a crazy athlete either in order to be healthy. So the glucose can be burned before it becomes fat. Fructose, however, cannot, because no cell in the body can do anything with it. It has to be metabolized by the liver. And this is where all the problems come in. Certain things take place in the liver. And this is, again, a condensed version of Dr. Robert Lustig's lecture that he has online. I'd recommend you watch it. There's a lot more information, and it really, really kind of hits home. But I wanted to try to condense it into just a few minutes for you and give you a quick breakdown on why sugar is a problem and how it is the cause of all metabolic syndrome. Now, metabolic syndrome, quickly. We said obesity, heart disease, hypertension, dyslipidemia, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is similar, cancers, possibly strokes, and other types of, the umbrella gets bigger all the time in theory as we learn more about this. But again, metabolic syndrome being 75% of our health care costs. So these are the issues that can be caused by the liver simply having to metabolize fructose. So one problem is uric acid is created. Again, through a chain of chemical events, which if you really want to learn the complete in and out of it, you got to watch Dr. Robert Lustig's lecture. So uric acid is made. Now, some of you may have heard of gout. Gout is in theory caused by a buildup of uric acid. And a lot of times it is in people that drink a lot of alcohol, because we know alcohol is made of sugar. Now, it's metabolized slightly differently. It's not metabolized differently, but a portion of it gets used before it hits the liver due to the fact that from the fermentation process, it's partially metabolized. So 10% gets absorbed by the intestinal, and another 10% can get used by the brain. Now that doesn't make alcohol or ethanol any safer than sugar because of the fact that it actually does damage to the brain as well. So it's worse than sugar in that respect. But as far as what takes place in the liver with whatever substrate is left over and hits the liver, it's the same thing. The outcome and the results are the same. Uric acid. So you may have heard of gout. Gout is in theory caused by a buildup of uric acid. And that's great. Okay, you have uric acid, it settles in your joints, you get calcium deposits, and and a breakdown of the joints from the acid, you get pain, an arthritic kind of a situation, right? So gout is caused by uric acid. That's what the medical industry will tell you. Well, where did the uric acid come from? Why are we producing too much of it? And how come the body is unable to get rid of it? Well, now we know one part of it is too much sugar, too much alcohol creates a lot of uric acid. Now, why doesn't everyone have gout? Well, because for some reason their body is dealing with that extra uric acid for now. Or, instead of gout, other health ramifications are taking place, which, it's our belief that an overall acidification of the body, or an acidic situation in the body environment, is what breeds disease. It creates an environment for disease. It causes the suppression of the immune system and the breakdown of the body's organs and systems. So, uric acid, not a good thing, produced by the liver when metabolizing ethanol or fructose. Another problem is JNK1. Another enzyme or something, another chemical that's produced, again, from the chemical process within the liver metabolizing sugar or ethanol. JNK1 causes inflammation. Now there is doctor after doctor after doctor that will tell you that all disease is inflammation based. So, inflammation is a problem. Producing JNK1 on a regular basis is a problem because you're going to have chronic inflammation within the cells, within the muscles, within the joints, within a lot of different areas of the body. So you got uric acid being produced, you got the JNK1 which is making the inflammation. You've also got new fat making, obviously, right? Carbohydrates, they turn to fat. Well, fructose specifically turns into the bad fat. It makes the highly dense LDL cholesterol type of fat, which, as we know, settles in your arteries, gets caught underneath the epithelial cells, and causes plaque buildup. So again, heart disease, hypertension, there's again the metabolic syndrome umbrella. So the secondary problem from the plaque, besides blockage, which clearly is a big problem, is the lack or the inability for the epithelial cells to create the nitrous oxide, which is what your body or your blood uses to regulate blood pressure. Which is why, blood and pressure goes hand in hand with these types of problems. Blood pressure is always an issue. And that's why they give you, nitroglycerin to lower your blood pressure. Instead of just figuring out the real problem, fixing it, and letting the body regulate blood pressure on its own. So, sugar causes a lot of problems within the body. And the more we consume, the worse the problems are. Now again, we can handle a little bit of it, but we want to be also doing a little bit of exercise, even if that's just walking around. Because some people sit all day, every day, and that is just not good. It's one thing if you're confined to a wheelchair. You got to get up and move around. But you don't necessarily need to do hours and hours and hours of crazy high intensity exercise in order to be healthy. that's a preference thing that goes above and beyond normalcy. So again, that's my opinion. And this is coming from someone that's done bodybuilding, working out for years. So it doesn't take. I want people to realize that 80%, and this is my opinion, this percentage is my opinion, but I've heard it before, and I believe it, that 80% of this is nutrition. You need to fortify the body with what it needs, and you need to free it from the chemical assault that it's under. And again, now we find out that even sugar, again in an extracted concentrated form, becomes just as bad as some of these chemicals, if not worse. So we've got to, again, try to become aware of this information and try to make use of it and make positive changes where, we have to be a little more disciplined. We got to take responsibility for it. I mean, once you know, that's it. You got no excuse. So we're all grown-ups, at least most of us, and as much as I like cookies and stuff, I'm certainly not going to die of a heart attack because I couldn't stop eating cookies. It's just not going to happen. So I'm going to eat some more dark chocolate. I'm going to have some raisins. I might have a bowl of fresh raspberries and blueberries and blackberries. Maybe sprinkle a little cream and some cinnamon on there. Beautiful. Sweet, delicious, healthy. That's what we got to do. Make better choices. It's up to us. So it's really in your hands now to make the right decision. Another problem with sugar, and it'll be the last thing we bring up today about sugar, is the fact that it interrupts our satiety signal, meaning when you eat, your body says, hey, we're full, we've had enough, we're done, we're good for now. This meal, we've had enough calories, we're starting to make fat. And there's certain hormones in the body that's released naturally. That's how the body talks to itself, is with hormones. And a couple of these hormones involved with this satiety signal would be called leptin and ghrelin. Now, ghrelin tells your brain, hey, we're hungry, let's eat. Leptin, released by your fat cells, tells your brain, we're done, we're good, we've had enough for now. Now, the problem is when we consume too much sugar or too much fructose, because of what's taking place in this metabolizing procedure within the liver and the resulting chemicals or fat, this satiety signal is not functioning properly. So the leptin is not being released by the fat cells, and therefore we're not being told that we're full. Which means if we eat, again, extracted concentrated forms of sugar, whether it be a soda or juice or something that spikes our blood sugar, during that time of the metabolizing process, we are not going to be told that we're full. We're going to end up eating more food. So not only did we consume the sugar, which it inevitably is going to get turned to bad fat, which we'll have to deal with, but we are going to end up eating more food. So we eat the sugar, we have those extra empty calories to deal with, and they're not empty because they produce fat. And then we're going to eat more of whatever food it is we're eating, which, may or may not be any good. So overeating foods that are bad for you is worse than eating a moderate amount of foods that are bad for you. Neither one of them is good, but one is obviously worse than the other. So that's our talk on sugar today. It was great to see everybody. Thank you for coming, and we look forward to seeing you again. Have a great night.